If you're a sailor or a long-term liveaboard / cruiser like us, there's a good chance you've been in one of these 4 situations as well. You're anchored in this picture-perfect bay, and you can stay for weeks, but you're almost out of water, so you have to pick up anchor and leave. Or you're venturing off the beaten path, and you have to walk for miles with your jerry cans just to fill them up with some questionable well water. Maybe you had to ration your water down to the last drop, hoping that the next rain squall would make it in time to top up your tanks, or you bit the bullet and you pulled into an overpriced marina to top up your tanks. I think running out of water is one of the most frustrating parts about cruising, especially because you cannot decide to live without water, and you're literally surrounded by it, the salty kind, unfortunately. We've been in those situations so many times. Hey, I'm Nike, and this is Floh, and we live on our 35-foot sailboat, Santana. We love to sneak off into these remote anchorages and be as self-sufficient as possible. And that's why about 1.5 years ago, we decided to install a Watermaker, a machine that turns salt water into drinking water. And we didn't decide to go with the 5,000 euro plus version, but with a 2,500 euros DIY kit from Octopus Watermaker. In this video, we're going to give you a quick overview how we installed the system, how it's working. If you are interested in a step-by-step installation, check out one of our previous videos. After that, we're going to run you through the 5 major learnings that we've had during the past 1.5 years using this Watermaker multiple times a week. Oh, and a quick heads up, we're brand ambassadors for Octopus Watermaker, so if you're thinking about getting a Watermaker yourself, just mention to Udo, who's the mastermind behind Octopus Watermaker, that Flo and Nike sent you, and you're going to get 100 euros off your purchase price. All right, let's dive in. The Octopus Watermaker comes in a well-packed DIY kit with all the core components. You have the membrane with a control unit, you have the filters, you have the pre-lift pump, the timing rinser, you have the thin hoses, and the connectors and cables. What's not included in the package are the slightly bigger hoses coming from the saltwater intake to the lifting pump and into the filters, and the connection between your freshwater tank and the rinsing unit going into the carbon filter. We have the 60 liter per hour version installed on our boat, but there's also a smaller one with 30 liters per hour and a larger one with 160 liters an hour. What's also not included is the pressure washer, which is acting as the powerhouse of the unit. We're currently running the system with a Corrosion K4 water-cooled system. And why we chose that particular one, Flo is going to talk about in the learnings coming up. To get the system set up and running, you need 4 major plumbing connections. The saltwater intake, leading the water to the pressure washer. Then you need an outlet for the brine, which is the leftover salt water that comes out of the system. And you need a connection for the fresh water that's coming out of the Watermaker and into the freshwater tank, and one connection leading back to the Watermaker that is flushing the system with fresh water. We tucked the strainer and the lifting pumps under the companionway. That's also where we put the rinser for the fresh water rinse. And we mounted the membranes with the control panel and all the filters in one of our cockpit lockers, where we also put the pressure washer. I think this is a very good moment to hand over to Flo, because let's say that's probably where the mess started that we have created with our first setup that we had on Santana.
So when we installed the Octopus Watermaker, we had basically no idea what we were doing. We just had a rough idea what we were aiming for. As Nike is running a portable Watermaker from Rainman on Carl, we had some idea what is working, and you need to get it out of the storage, set everything up, and then you have to completely clean everything and put it away. So it's not an easy system to just push a button and have it running. What we wanted to have on Santana is a system which is permanently installed, so that everything is more or less push button, even the cleaning cycle. Therefore, I thought the best way to install it is somewhere in the cockpit. in the locker so that it has a super easy access and that there is enough room inside of the locker so that there is enough airflow. At least that's what we thought. One major issue that occurred very early on is that we did not have enough power installed. So to run the Kercher, which is a 220 volt version, when we have it when we have the power transferred from 12 volt, it's drawing more than 100 amps, and we do not have the liveaboard batteries installed on this boat, so we needed to have a second electricity source, and back then we did not have enough solar installed, so we needed to run the engine. We thought, now it's a great idea when we have the motor anyway, that we can run the Watermaker as long as it takes to completely fill up the entire tanks when we are motoring anyway. That means the boat has a certain movement, and I chose to not drill an extra hole when installing it and use the water intake which is already installed at the very front of the boat. When there was a bit of waves, we had some air intake, number one, so there was air bubbles in the system. Number two, there is a hot water storage in the locker which is heating up when the engine is running. So now this water was increasing up to 90 degrees Celsius, and the engine is right next to the locker, and all of that led to a very hot locker. And since we were on the way, we did not have the lid of the locker open, as I thought there's enough air inside for circulation. Turns out the entire locker room got really hot, and another issue was the tilting over of the Kercher. I thought that might be fine. It doesn't matter in which position it is working. I found out later that the air-cooled versions, and we were using the very cheap K2 from Kercher, wants to be upright. So all of that led to us blowing the gearbox quite early on. Some bearings blew and the gearbox oil was draining, and we couldn't use the K2 anymore.
By the way, I do remember that one of you, I think it was John, mentioned the oil seal issue in our Patreon WhatsApp chat right after we got the pressure washer. So yeah, we learned our lesson, John.
Therefore, we decided to ramp up the system and go for a Kercher K4, and it's the Kercher K4 compact version that was back then the smallest Kercher with a water-cooled system. Now there's a big difference. The whole engine block is made out of metal and the water circulates through the engine. So it does not matter in which position you are orientating the Kercher itself, and it does not need any airflow at all, and it is cooling itself through the water circulating around the engine. So what did we learn out of this? A couple of points that I would strongly suggest to take into account. Number one is have enough power installed, so either a really good battery bank and a good inverter, or some kind of a genset, or enough solar. Since we upgraded to bigger solar panels and a stronger inverter, we can now run the Kercher at least for roughly about half an hour during the middle of the day, if there's enough sunshine. So the second is heat management is crucial. So if you have the air-cooled version, make sure that it is super easy to take it out and run it while standing on deck. It needs a lot of air, and then it is super loud. Our suggestion is to go with a water-cooled version and manage or have a look for the corrosion.
And once again, those two things, the heating issues and the corrosion, were things that you guys had mentioned in the comments of the first install video. So thank you very much for your suggestions. Yes, the K4 water-cooled system is working a lot better, especially when taking care of the flushing.
The air-cooled versions are made out of plastic. There's no galvanic corrosion inside of the system. In the water-cooled versions, you do have that risk. Therefore, maintaining that and flushing is super important. What we found out about the air bubbles in the system, the membrane and the Kercher don't like that at all. So it is important that you do not have any air bubbles coming into the system from the intake. The second one is that you make sure that all the seals are properly sealed so that there's no air intake in the filter. And we found out it does help a lot to have the pre-water pumps, so the one that is directly behind the raw water intake, that they are strong enough. Either you go for a different version or you install a second one, that you have the whole system like pre-pressurized, so that the Kercher does not have to suck too strong, because otherwise you might have some air bubbles built up in the filter itself. What we learned for our setup, as we still do not have the bigger battery bank, and as we do have the full metal water-cooled system, we found out that the daily routine matters a lot. So during the middle of the day, our solar we have about 800 watts installed right now. And if the batteries are charged 100%, we can run the Watermaker for about half an hour without turning on the engine. And we want to run it as much as possible on renewable energy, so we rather use the Watermaker every single day, just for a shorter amount of time to top up, rather than having it run for 3 or 4 hours constantly, because that would require using the engine and drawing the 100 amps. All of the cables are getting really hot, so we prefer these shorter intervals. And then flush it. So we flush it every day after use, and we have an automated timer that is flushing the entire system once a day with fresh water. And we hope to keep the galvanic corrosion of the metal parts inside of the water-cooled version as to a minimum. We are running the entire Watermaker now for 1.5 years, and for about 1 year on the same water-cooled Kercher version, and so far it does not seem to have any corrosion.
Some of you also wanted to know whether we're still satisfied and happy with choosing Octopus Watermaker. And as Flo mentioned, we've been running it for a good year now with this new setup with the K4. And yes, we're very happy, we're very satisfied, and we can definitely recommend it. You may be thinking, wait, that's it? Yep, that's it. I know it's not rocket science, and still, if you have ever tackled a boat project for the first time, you know how things can super quickly turn into these crazy, salty puzzles, and it's only once you've finished a job and maybe you've worked with the thing at hand for a while is when you really start seeing things very clearly. Well, that's how it's been for us. And we hope that this video might help you dodge a couple of those hiccups that we ran into, and maybe save you some time, some money, and some head scratching along the way. Well, thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please leave us a like or a comment or even subscribe for more. And here is to longer stays in remote bays with full tanks and no marina fees. See you next time.